So you're a landlord and wondering what falling rents are going to do to impact your investment? Well, fear not. Check out this video and I'm going to give you the top tips to make sure you protect your rental investment. Through November 2020, rents have declined on average about 5% year on year, and that's definitely worrisome to lots of landlords. This is sharp contrast to other areas of the UK where rents are actually rising and demand actually outstrips supply. Across the country, rents have increased on average 1.72% according to property website Zoopla, as people are looking for more space and properties with definitely outdoor living. So why the disconnect? Well, in today's video, we're definitely going to dive into that and give you the latest factors that are impacting the London landlords and what they can do to protect their investment. Hi everyone, I'm Arinzeh with Onyx Property Team in Keller Williams. I am a London-based property agent and I help buyers, sellers, and landlords get the most out of the London property market. As a landlord myself, especially an international one, I've definitely experienced the highs and lows of owning properties as an investment. So in today's video, we're going to give you the latest that you're going to need to know and give you some great ideas about how you can make sure you maximize your investment during these challenging times. So for a bit of context, average rents in London are at £1,596 per month, which is a 5.2% decline compared to where rents were a year ago. As we're still in the middle of a global pandemic, there are three primary factors that have impacted the supply and demand in the rental sector. The first one is the exodus of office workers and lack of multinational firms sending over staff. Obviously, as travel restrictions are in place and there's been an economic slowdown, multinationals and office workers are definitely not flooding to cities as they used to. Secondly, there's been a significant decline in the number of foreign national students who are coming to London to attend universities, and that's definitely impacting the demand for properties and rental properties in the city. And third, the pandemic has decimated the tourism market, and therefore London, as with most cities, are just not experiencing the level of global tourism that they used to have. And therefore those landlords, particularly ones that used to offer their units as short-term rentals, are withdrawing them from the short-term rental market and actually putting them on for long-term rents. So you have had a significant decline on the demand side from the domestic workers, international staff coming over, reduced number of foreign national students, and non-existing international tourist market, compounded by an increase in supply as short-let properties convert to the long-term market. On our team, we're definitely experiencing falling rents, with pretty much everything we are reletting right now is being relet at rents that are significantly lower to what we were achieving in the past, somewhat in the neighborhood of 5 to 10%. These declines have shaved 0.2 to 0.5% off of rental yields earned by many landlords who are already quite squeezed in terms of cash flow on their investments in London. While most of London has experienced declines, there definitely are a few notable areas that have seen rents actually increase, and those are in Lambeth, which has jumped over 8% so far this year, followed by Ealing, Haringey, and Merton experiencing increases around 7%, and Greenwich in the range of 5%. So if you are thinking about buying, you might want to look at those areas in terms of having the strongest rental yields in this current market. By the way, if you want to know more about the best yields in London, check out my previous video on the 5 top buy-to-let areas in London. We've got the link just above and also can include it in the description of the video. So what can you do as a landlord to rent your property as quickly as possible? Well, my first piece of advice is to, number one, do your homework. Do market research and homework on what is currently happening in the market and what comparable units are renting at. Use the online portals to compare, but dig in as well to see what other amenities might be on offer, such as outdoor space, parking, concierge facilities, resident facilities, etc. Also be mindful of how many other units you're competing against. Say you have a listing in a tall, multi-unit property or building, you're definitely going to have to kind of make sure your property stands out and you're competitive on pricing no matter what you were achieving in the past. Number 2 is to take emotion out of it. Don't be emotional about what you were getting in the past. Be realistic as what it will take to get your property rented in today's market. Just like when markets are increasing to your favor and rents are increasing, you don't mind bumping up rents to reflect that. But in today's market, if rents are declining, you're definitely going to want to be proactive, get ahead of that so that you're not lagging and having undue vacancies that are really going to impact your investment yields. Don't forget to put yourself in the mind of renters and be very clear-eyed as to what the choices they have to compete against or to consider, and make sure that your property is standing out. Speaking of standing out, my number 3 tip is to make sure that your unit is show ready. Spend money to make necessary improvements. Don't just leave it the way it's been when the last tenants left. If it needs paint, then paint it. Replace carpeting, update the lighting, whatever you need to do. Remember, your property is an investment. It's a living, breathing entity, and you want to make sure you maintain it and upgrade it as needed. Number 4, especially when it comes to marketing, is to take great pictures. I recently spoke to someone who was struggling to let out his flat, and he'd never had a problem in the past. I jumped online and could see that the pictures were very poor quality with beds unmade, and it just looked lifeless. In some rooms, he didn't even have bedding on the beds. Also, don't forget about the description. Highlight why someone would actually want to live there, not just the generic statistics about number of bedrooms and bathrooms. Again, in his case, he mentioned 4 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. That screams to me as actually the last thing that people might actually want. So don't not give people the information, but also don't scream the worst features in your very first line. Number 5 on my list is, if you can, offer the property as both furnished and unfurnished, and this will allow you to cast the net as wide as possible. I know that's not perhaps typical in other countries, but we do offer properties in some cases as either furnished or unfurnished. In this flat here, we virtually staged an empty flat and put in computer-generated pictures, so to offer it as both furnished and unfurnished. And that way, if somebody was looking that already had their own furniture, we weren't going to spend unnecessarily for furniture and limit the pool of people who actually might have their own furniture. But by computer generating, we could also visually show the level of furniture we would provide if somebody needed it furnished. Ultimately, we actually did need to furnish it, and I did some of the staging so that we were able to deliver the property very similar to the pictures. By the way, if you want more great staging tips, make sure to check out my recent video on great tips for staging your property, as I'll definitely offer secrets of the trade. Coming back to our list, number 6 is be prepared to negotiate. As painful as it is, often the first offer will be your best offer, so don't sneeze at it or let it go. We had a situation on a flat where we were renting out Notting Hill, and the first offer we received was considerably below asking price. Well, the landlord didn't want to accept that, so we went an additional 2 months, and after several price reductions, we ended up pretty close to that first offer, but now we had lost 2 months of rent. So definitely don't make that mistake. If somebody does put in an offer, make sure you try to work with them and see if you can get them up. But if you have an offer on the table, you definitely don't want to let it go. And number 7 on our list is finally, if you do have tenants on an open or periodic tenancy, meaning that they're past their initial contract period, do your best to keep them, or even see if you can get them to extend for another year, even if it means a rental reduction. You want to avoid to have to go out in this current market and compete as much as you can. Well, I hope this video has given you a great sense of what's happening in the current rental market, but more importantly, what you can actually do to be proactive and get ahead of it to maximize your investment. If you have any questions about renting out your property or being a landlord, make sure to reach out to me, as I'd love to help you answer any questions that you need to have. Also, if you want to get my free guide on the 8 common mistakes you want to avoid in letting out your property, then just drop me an email and we will definitely get that over to you. Also, make sure to hit that like button and leave me a comment to let YouTube know that we're putting out great content for you. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out the other videos on my YouTube channel where I share great things about the London property market and living in this incredible city. So that's Arinzeh with Onyx Property Team and Keller Williams. Bye for now.